if I started introducing my videos this way? Quack. And since y'all don't speak chicken, I'll tell you this means quack. This means hello guys. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kuda Kwasha. What if chickens, when we're killing them, are really just saying, save my life, I have kids. I have a girl that I've been looking at on the other side of the pen. She's super kind. She's super nice. Please just save my life, brother. Like, I was about to get this job, you know. I was about to get this job like cracking at the end of the pen, you know what I mean? I was about to Leetcode my way into this job, but now you're about to take my life, brother. What you doing, brother? Come on, brother. Anyway, I digress. Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Kuda Kwashim Shaike. I'm here to talk to you about everything interviewing. I'm excited to be helping you guys. I feel like, I've gone through the struggle, like I've gone through the pain and suffering of interviewing the last couple months. So I got laid off in November, and it was crunch time for me since November. And the reason is, as an international person, you only have 2 months. I've shared this in the other video, to find a job before you have to exit the country. I've had to find other ways to work around that, and there are ways to work around it. And if you're interested about learning how to navigate the layoffs on H1B, I can make a video about that, and I can help essentially those people, because I know how it feels. Since there are layoffs left and right, sometimes you may not know what to do. You may feel like your life is completely over, but it's not. I'm here to tell you that it's not over. It's not over until you win. And that's exactly what I'm here to do, to make sure that you win. And so one thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about today is something that you've become very familiar with. Or at least if you're interviewing, you need to be familiar with. I'm sure at this point you've probably heard about it, even if you're not interviewing in tech. If you're a friend of a person who is interviewing in tech, you've heard about the curse word, the L word. It's called the Leetcode of things. So that's what I'm going to talk about to you guys today. I want to talk about Leetcode, and I'm going to talk about the pain, the suffering, the all that you probably have felt, and I'm going to talk about the relationship that we have with Leetcode, and how you can have a better relationship with Leetcode such that you find success in your interviewing process. And I'm going to share some of my experience that have allowed me to be successful, that has allowed me to clear interviews at companies like Google, to clear interviews at companies like Airbnb, and other places where I've been very successful. So I just wanted you guys to know exactly what I did, and so you can avoid some of the pain and suffering that I'm hearing here in the vicinities of my surroundings, and for my friends and family and people that I'm mentoring that are also interviewing. So hopefully this will be helpful to you. Anyway, I don't like wasting people's time, so I'm going to get right to it. The reason why I decided to make this video is because I was having a conversation with some people today, and I was talking about my friend who was interviewing someone. My friend works at Meta. He's a really good engineer and works at Meta, and he spends some of his time at work interviewing people, and he had an interview recently where someone was cheating on the interview. So I was very struck by my friend sharing this, that I had to share with a group of people that I was talking to. I was like, guys, can you imagine that there was a guy who was actually cheating in the Leetcode, because Meta asks Leetcode heavy questions. The questions you can find on Leetcode, so he was cheating, and I asked him, how did he know that he was cheating? And that's the first question that those people asked me as well. He knew that he was cheating because he couldn't really explain what he was doing, right? And some of the explanations didn't really explain very well what he was doing. And at some point, he even erased what he had written and wrote something else. Yeah. But that actually brought out a conversation, a deeper conversation between me and the people that I was talking to or talking with about cheating. And, people were like, some people, I didn't know this was didn't know this was a divisive subject. I didn't know this was a very political subject. It almost felt like I was talking about, the political landscape that we're living in America right now. In that conversation, it got very it got very it got very bad pretty quickly. For me, I just stated something thinking like it was common acceptance, common knowledge that you shouldn't cheat. You surely shouldn't cheat in life, and you shouldn't cheat on these exams. Like I'm not trying to teach morality, guys. Like it's simple, it's simplicity. But I think it was a great opportunity for us to have conversation because some people feel very strongly that they should cheat in these lead codes because like God knows who, like these companies are asking some really hard questions and how are you supposed to figure this stuff out in 45 minutes? Some people even say that, look, like we're not, no one has to do lead code in their day job. So why am I having to do this lead code? So all I'm going to do is just like get through it by cheating. When I get the job, I'll just do my job. I was like, man, I don't know about that. Like, I don't think you should be cheating, but I understand that pain. Look, I understand your pain. You in this journey, you've probably felt the pull to maybe cheat. I'm not gonna lie, I felt the pull too, to cheat. But I realized that it wouldn't be beneficial to me, and I'm glad that's not the path that I took with my interviews. So I'm gonna share on how you can make sure that you are still successful without cheating. Or I'm gonna introduce a new way of thinking about lead code that you probably nobody has shared with you. And the reason why you want to cheat is because you want to make sure that you increase your chances of getting the job. I think at the underneath all of that is just a desire to make sure that you increase your chances of getting the job. And I understand that. I understand that deeply because that's exactly what I'm going through. I understand wanting to better your chances. I understand wanting to raise your probabilities because you're competing with thousands of other people in this roles. I deeply understand that. I get it. I get wanting to put your foot ahead of the other guys. I get it. And I get the need and the desire to want to cheat. I get it. I absolutely get it. I understand it, guys. But I just don't think that's the path you should take. First of all, I don't even think it's that effective at all. I don't even think you're gonna get a job cheating your way through it. I believe me. I think some of you believe that, but I'm here to tell you that you're not gonna get a job, especially if we're talking at this like high level companies. We're talking about FAANG companies. We're talking about top AI companies. You're not gonna get your way. You may get your way through the door, but eventually you're gonna be find out, and it's gonna be bad. Like, please don't do it. Like I was telling the people that I was talking to, please don't do it. And you don't have to only take my word for it. I have something better for you. And that's what this video is about. I have something better for you. You don't have to cheat. I have something that's even better than cheating. Something that will actually make your chances way better when it comes to Leetcode. So this video is for you. If you're frustrated with how you've been doing with your interviews, if you're frustrated that these companies want you to know these algorithms and want you to apply them in a very short amount of time, if you're frustrated by that, if you're frustrated that you can't seem to get what they want, you can't seem to do enough lead codes to know exactly what you need to do, or you don't even know how to start lead coding, and it's just like this world is just like crashing over you and it's overwhelming, I've been there. And I'm here today to tell you exactly what you need to do to make sure that you free yourself from the challenge of feeling like you're having to cheat, but also from meeting your desire that you really need to get the high mark that you need on these interviews. So this is how I see it. It was tough for me having that conversation. So let me breathe. It was very tough for me having that conversation because I knew exactly what they're talking about. I knew I could relate to the suffering and the frustration, and also knowing that there are people that have been cheating their way through this, and maybe some have been successful, and you start feeling like, oh man, why am I just doing the right thing? Why am I spending so much time lead coding, doing all this, like studying, and then I'm not even half as successful as people that are doing other things. So let's address it, and let me give you some tools that will help you. I don't know how many tools I have. I like to keep these conversations in threes, and I'm going to try and do that. So here it is. If you have been memorizing for Leetcode, if you've been doing questions that are Leetcode tagged for a company, trying to memorize that and then hoping that will carry you through your interviews, it may work for 1 or 2 interviews, but that's not it, brother. That's not going to work in the long run. You're not going to get through a full loop of on-sites just cramming stuff. Trust me, even if you do, getting to offer, they're going to see it at some point, bro. Like, and don't do that to yourself. I don't think that's the way to do it. If you have been copying the code while you're in a live interview, guys, that's if you've been cheating, please don't do that. Just don't do that, because even if you're successful and you get the job, how are you going to be able to live with yourself knowing that like you got this job because you lied your way through it, because you lied your way through the algorithms to get this job? And I know there's a lot of money on the other end, and I know how frustrating it can be, guys. I've been jobless for 10 months now. I know how it feels to look at your finances dwindle every single day, every single week. I know how it feels like, but it's never a reason to cheat. And there's no reason to, because I'm about to tell you how to do Leetcode such that you become a guru, such that you can get through these interviews. Like, you're 100% guaranteed. Maybe not 100%, but you're 90% there. And with more effort, you can get a 95, maybe 99. I don't know. But, okay, let me not waste your time. The first thing I'm going to suggest, depending on whether you're starting with Leetcode, actually, this is relevant even if you're starting afresh. I was thinking like if you're already far ahead, maybe these steps are more relevant to someone who's getting started. But listen to this. The first thing that I suggest is don't learn to cram. Throw away the idea that you want to learn so that you can cram the questions, so you can memorize the questions or memorize the answer, memorize the time complexity, and then in the interview you hope to see the question and then you just ace it. I used to do that. That worked for some of the interviews. But these companies are also smart, guys. Come on, they're very smart. Like, most of these questions, they're going to tweak them a little bit. It may have been leaked. Most of these questions are leaked anyway. But even if the question is leaked, they can change the question on you. And you're going to, all that prep, all that cheating is now, it's now in the bin. It's not going to help you. So what I'm saying, all that memorizing, not cheating, sorry. It's not going to help you. So what I'm saying is, make sure that when you're practicing your Leetcode, the goal is not to memorize. The goal is to memorize the algorithm. It's to memorize the pattern, right? And it's not even to memorize. It's not like you're going to memorize it. It's just going to come like water over you. It's like you're under a waterfall. The more that you do these problems, right, it's like water going over you. Or the process of osmosis and diffusion will just work in your favor, right? So I really suggest don't practice to memorize the question and the answer to the question. Practice to memorize the structures underlying the question, right? And how do you actually do this in fundamental terms and not in abstract terms? Well, what you actually do is, when you're practicing, this is the structure that I would highly recommend. This is the structure that got me through Google. As some of you know, and as some of you may not know, if you know, you're not going to pass Google interviews doing memorization, rote memorization. It's just not going to work. The reason is, most of the questions they ask you are questions you have never seen before. But what you might have seen before and what you must have seen before is the pattern underlying the questions. So they'll ask you a question that, like a merge intervals question, right? If you have done different questions with intervals in them, you know how to handle that, right? If they will ask you a graph question, they love asking graph questions, right? If you're familiar with BFS and DFS and you've done a few questions about that and you know about the pattern, you're gonna ace that. And that was my situation, right? They asked me a question and they made it very abstract. They're talking about, hey, you have this beam of light, and then you send down this beam of light, and then it flashes on these towers, and then this tower may not receive it. How would you calculate that if this tower has received it? How do you know that if all the towers are going to receive it? I'm just sitting there like, are you serious? You're just abstracting binary BFS, breadth first search. You're just abstracting. That's literally what breadth first is. Like, so I just need to run this algorithm on this and do that, right? So, but if you hadn't played around with as many questions as possible, you wouldn't know what to do, right? You would get confused. And that was exactly my case a few months before that. A few months prior to that, I had also interviewed again with Google, and I failed. And I vividly remember in the interview, I was trying to figure it out. I was like, oh wait, and I had seen this question that they had on Leetcode that was under the Leetcode tech questions, and guys, this is how I failed, because I was reading the question, thinking it's the question I saw on Leetcode, because there were things that were similar about it. The question that had been on Leetcode was about beams, like sending out a light of beam, but it was a different question. It was not even about BFS or DFS. It was about merge intervals or something like that. And then I was like, oh, I was trying to fit what they were asking me into the question I had seen, into the memorization I had done. And guess what? It took me way more time. I was trying to solve this question for about 15 to 20 minutes, not being able to come up with an algorithm that made sense to solve this question, until I stepped back and I was like, oh my God, that is BFS. That was a DFS question. And so I tell the guy, by this time the guy is probably tired and frustrated. He's just like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Go ahead and implement this. And of course I didn't finish the question. I didn't finish answering the question. So I strongly advise that you don't memorize the questions that you see on Leetcode Tech for these companies. And you don't memorize questions in general, because the chances of you seeing the exact same question asked in the exact same way are very small. And even if you do, this is the other problem that you're going to face. So problem number 1, don't memorize. Problem number 2, even if you memorize and you get the question on the final day, you've prepared, you see the exact question you thought about yesterday, you may not still pass. And the reason why you may not still pass is because if you have memorized it and actually don't understand the underlying structures. Most of these interviewers, when you pass the first question, like the first question they ask you, they will ask you some follow-up questions, right? And you may not be able to answer those because you don't actually understand, you don't purely really understand the algorithm underlying the question that they asked you. So now I want to give you a rubric. I want to give you, I just don't want to leave you with these 2 things because I don't think they're comprehensive. I actually want to tell you how to approach Leetcode. I want to tell you the art of Leetcode that got me into Google, that got me through the Google process, and that got me through other top tech companies as well. So what I suggest, and it's actually really helped me. It's helped me enjoy this process. Actually, before I get there, I wanted to say the last thing, and it will lead very well to this point of like what you should actually do. The last thing out of those 2, the third thing is that your attitude matters. Some of you have very negative attitudes towards Leetcode, and I understand it, right? So some of you, like I was saying earlier, have told me that, hey, we don't see Leetcode on the day job. Why am I being asked to do this thing? This thing is ridiculous, and it's only 45 minutes. How should I even do this thing? And this approach that I'm telling you addresses that in 2 ways. And the first way is that you actually start to enjoy working on Leetcode problems, and you won't feel that they're wasting your time. You won't feel that they're painful. You actually enjoy them. You just see it as a challenge. And I'll explain how that actually works out. You understand it after I'm done. And the other part is this, that like you actually start to see the patterns. You actually start to see how this is relevant for your job. I don't think Leetcode is completely far off from what we work on a day job, and I'll explain why. Don't come at me yet. Let me land first, and then you'll see where I'm coming from. So those are the 2. That's the third thing, the third reason, or why maybe how you've been doing Leetcode is wrong. And I want to tell you how to do Leetcode in a way that's actually sustainable and that's actually fun, and that will also give you a job. The way that you should do Leetcode, like I was saying, is that finding the underlying structures. But how do you do this? You do this by, I'm going to suggest a paid way and a non-paid way. The paid way, or the way that you have to pay to actually do this, is that there's a course called Grokking the Coding Interview. It's on Educative. I know I told you in system design, Grokking, that's actually a good resource. And there's a resource as well for interview patterns. Someone was smart enough to see that the patterns way is a better way than the memorization of specific questions. And what they did is that they created a course that has the different algorithms broken down and the questions underneath each of those underlying patterns. they are broken down into sections. So you can go do a section. The coursework is a bunch of different algorithms, and you do for each algorithm, there's a section of questions that you can do. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. I recommend it. I use it personally, and it helped me enjoy these algorithms. My God, the way that I enjoy them. And the reason why I did is because it breaks down. It has a little section that explains. It's kind of like on Leetcode. I don't know if you've seen in Leetcode, they have these like cards. They call them the cards, where they tell you about the algorithm first, and you do an easy question to just get ramp up. I would use the Leetcode ones as well. If you the Explore cards, if you can get access to them, if you have Leetcode Premium. I don't know if they're on the normal Leetcode, but that's also helpful. Educative is very helpful for that because it's already broken down for you. You don't have to do it yourself. That's the paid. The non-paid version of that is that Leetcode, the guy Leetcode, this guy is great. He did exactly what I'm suggesting you guys do. He has a roadmap. It's called go on leetcode.io/roadmap. You'll see the roadmap he makes. He made the same exact roadmap that Educative Brex uses, but I think Educative has different questions on there. So if you don't want to pay for Educative, that's fine. I understand. I didn't want to pay for any resource. I would do the Leetcode questions under each and every section. I would now do them topically. Don't just jump around. And I think these questions are also the blind 75 questions, if I'm not mistaken. So you'll be killing two birds with one stone. And I definitely think you should do the blind 75 questions. There's also a blind 150. I haven't done the blind 150 because I'm lazy. I don't want to do all that stuff. But you know, I can still not do all that stuff and still win, and this is my strategy. This is my winning strategy. Do the blind 75. You have to do those because they're topical questions, and do them topically. Don't just do question by question, or don't do them by level of difficulty like what people have been doing. One of my mentees was telling me that he did them by level of hard. I don't suggest that. I suggest doing them by topics or doing them by algorithm structure. That way you get to appreciate the algorithm and you do all the questions. I think they're maybe about an average of 8 questions per topic. I definitely highly suggest that. I hope you listen to me because it's going to save you so much time, sweat, and tears. Okay, once you've done that, and I think this video will be too long if I also gave you the strategy for how to do Leetcode right, like actually how to do the Leetcode questions. So I'll make a separate video for how to do Leetcode questions such that you're memorizing the data structures that are underneath, so you're memorizing the structures that are underneath these questions, the algorithm structures that are underneath these questions. So I'll do a separate video for that because this video will be way too long. It's already too long right now. So once you've done that, I think you're well on your way to understand the algorithms. That you'll get to a place where I'm now at, and I just recently got there, where actually, to tell you a funny story, I walked into, like I said, I've been volunteering for this program called Brilliant Black Minds. I've been leading study stations for data structures and algorithms every Tuesday and Thursday. If you come out, you see me. And one day I walked in virtually, and I was talking about how I just recently done topological sorting. So MBMB is this classic question they ask for topological sorting, and I done topological sorting for the first time because this entire time when I had seen questions that needed me to use topological sorting, I just used BFS or DFS as is and didn't use the topological sort. And I, gotten semi-successful. Some of my interviews I failed because there's a question, for example, for topological sort that I got asked by TikTok a few months back that I failed because I hadn't done topological sorting at the time. This is almost a year ago now. And then when I got an MBMB question for topological sorting, it was quite hard. It's a hard question, but it needs for you to use topological sorting. So after the interview, I went ahead, tried to learn topological sorting, and I watched a video by this Indian woman on the fundamentals of how a directly cyclic graph works, and I had actually gotten the appreciation for the algorithm before you actually at the code, like how the algorithm actually works. And she had drawn this graph, and for whenever you calculate the in degree for each node, and then you, as you're going through the nodes that it's connected to, you subtract the in degree for those neighbors. And I was like listening to her, and like I was seeing her do this thing on paper, and it was so cool. And I was like, my God, this is amazing. And once I started reading the code and looking at the code and the applications of it, and then I did the question, and I was like, wow, how did anybody think of this? This is so cool. So I walked in very excited. I was crashing over this algorithm. Like I was blushing when I walked into the interview. Blushing when I walked into the chat that I had with these mentees. And I was super excited, and I was telling them, and one of the people was like, how in the world are you that excited about an algorithm? And I was like, guys, trust me, a few months ago, I didn't even know what the hell BFS and DFS was, and I was out here looking for cheat sheets online to try and learn it. And it's crazy that I can even say that, and it's crazy that I'm saying that in this video, but I have fallen in love with the process. And I want you guys to fall in love with the process as well, because I think that's the only way to actually win in Leetcode. You have to fall in love with so the nice thing about what I'm suggesting you guys to do is that it actually makes the process fun, right? It makes the process fun, and then it makes you appreciate the problem solving. So what these interviewers are looking from you is what they call problem solving. And what problem solving really is, it's like it's filling in the blanks. So if you're already, what you're doing is you've built a skeleton for each and every of all these algorithms, then problem solving in the interview becomes very easy and very clear for the interviewer to see, because what they're seeing is someone who understands the problem set, understands these kind of problems that they're giving you, and understands how to put the skeleton on the table and flesh it out and put flesh on top. That's exactly what they want you to do. And that's also exactly what your job as a software engineer requires. Your job as a software engineer is like, there's no way in hell you're ever going to be paid 500K or 400K to solve a problem that's already solved, right? DoorDash or Pinterest or any of these guys, they're not going to give you exactly a problem that even if you were working in the same org in prior, you would have seen exactly word by word. Because some of these companies are even in different industries. Like for example, Google Maps is a different industry from DoorDash, different industry from Pinterest, right? These industries are fundamentally different, but they're different only on the surface though. But the problems, if you abstract them enough, they become the same problem. Right? The Uber problem of finding nearby riders is the same as like the Google Maps problem of finding nearby hair salons, right? That problem is the same fundamentally, because you have all these nodes, right? You can abstract the top level layer of like pins or Pinterest or whatever, and you can just think of it as these locations as nodes on a graph. And then if you're trying to find the minimum path, whether it's like the minimum path to go to a hair salon or to get to a driver, it's the same nodes that you're really working with fundamentally on low level, right? That's your job as an engineer, right? So this thing that I've been hearing you guys say, where you say, why am I being asked to write Leetcode? It's not like in my day job, I may be asked to do Leetcode anyway, so I should cheat so I get the job. My brother, you're thinking it wrong. You are actually on the job asked to do Leetcode. You're just not seeing it because you're not abstracting the thing. You're just not seeing it because you're not learning the joy of your job, which you should be excited about. Your job as an engineer is all about abstracting problems and then pattern matching, right? You're matching the patterns of things that you've seen before, problems you've solved before. You're abstracting what you've learned from those problems and then applying it to new sets of problems, right? It's almost like you're building a formula. Think of it mathematically. These problems may seem different on the surface, but underneath it's the same formula that you need to learn so you can take that formula and apply it to a new problem. That's what an engineer does. So if you take it a step further, you would then start to appreciate these problems. And if you start appreciating the problems and you start appreciating the process, then you have found the art of solving problems on Leetcode. So the art of solving problem Leetcode, to summarize everything I've said, is to not cheat. Is to not memorize the questions you're seeing. It is, though, to memorize the underlying structures. And how do you do that? You do that by courses like Educative that really break down the problems into different sections. Or if you don't want to pay for that, you just go topic by topic by topic, do as many questions as you want on the topic, appreciate the underlying algorithm, and then abstract it for when you get an interview. I hope that's helpful. Guys, the things that I'm telling you will save you a lot of time and pain. I've been through it. For the last 10 months, I thought this journey would only take me 2 months because I only had 2 months. But it has taken 10 months to get there. I don't want you to go through the same suffering and pain that I went through. This process of interviewing and lead coding is actually way easier than you think it is. And this is exactly how you do it. And this is what got me through Google. This is what got me through all these other companies I've name dropped. Please let me know what you think. Please let me know what you feel. If you have specific things you want me to talk about, please write them in the chat below. Comment, let me know if there's anything I can talk about that will be helpful for your journey. I've been interviewing. I've done over 170 interviews, almost 200 interviews, including interviews that I've done with startups. So I have a lot of breadth and depth on these different areas, whether it's system design, whether it's coding, whether it's even front-end interviews, because I'm a full-stack engineer. I've also done interviews that were purely front-end. So I'm here to help. Let me know how I can help. Blessings on your journey. See you on the next one.